As we're going to wait here for the last minute to get started. I work at a probation office and I do a lot of urinalysis tests or UAs, and you got to wait like 3 minutes for the test to get done, and that is the longest 3 minutes anybody's ever had to go through. You can see it on the offender's face too. They're just like, "Oh my God."
Hey, Nick, do you guys do it on the spot right there? You have a lab?
Not a lab, but a dip test.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'm going to turn on the screen sharing here. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, hang on just a moment. I'm just making sure the recording and everything is ready to go. Okay, so we're starting. We started last week with the Quarry, and we're moving on into the Arch. Um, any comments or questions before we get started? All right, the tumbleweeds. Here we go. So we discussed the cardinal signs of the zodiac in our last presentation. So this time we're going to move on to the fixed signs of the zodiac. Anybody know what fixed is all about? Nope.
No.
No. Okay. Fixed means that they are not movable. They are constantly in place, fastened, attached, or placed to be firm, not readily movable. Stationary, firmly implanted, and rigid. There are also what's called mutable signs of the zodiac. Mutable means that they are subject to change or alteration. But we're not worried about those right now. We're worried about the fixed signs. But if you take a glance at the symbols used in the mutable signs, like Pisces is two fish facing different directions. Gemini is twins facing different directions. They're transitioning the seasons. Virgo is a winged virgin holding the wheat of the harvest and the transition from summer to autumn. Sagittarius is the centaur riding forward toward winter, but shooting his arrow back toward autumn, showing a transition in between. So this is how it all sets up. Each season transitions from a cardinal sign to a fixed sign, and then finally to a mutable sign. For example, spring starts on March 21st and is in the sign of Aries. It comes in full around April 20th, and then transitions to summer around May 20th, arriving at summer in the solstice on June 21st. This procession continues throughout the year, transitioning from season to season until the cycle starts over again in the spring. Now, before we keep going, I want to make sure that everybody is aware that this is a presentation about astronomy, which is one of the 7 liberal arts and sciences. This is not to be confused with what modern concept of astrology. Astronomy is a study of celestial objects in space and the universe as a whole. Astrology is the study of the movement and position of celestial objects and their supposed influence on the lives of human beings. Whenever somebody says astronomy or astrology, whenever somebody says astrology, I think that word is taken way out of context because astro means space and ology means the study of. When you say astrology, you're supposed to be saying the study of space, but instead people think horoscope. And the trouble here is when you use the word zodiac, zodiac or astrology, people go straight to horoscope. And that claims to tell you your fortunes right after making your eyes glaze over due to the amazing humor of Marmaduke. Anybody here a Marmaduke fan? I didn't just trample all over Marmaduke, did I? All right. So we're talking about constellations and their positions in the sky related to the seasons of the year. The term zodiac is currently used by modern astronomers. These particular constellations form a stellar belt around the ecliptic of the Earth. The belt consists of a maximum of 17 degrees from top to bottom. And like I said, I'm not talking about astrology. Astrology is completely different mystery school in and of itself. The Hebrews actually knew this as well. They knew the difference between astronomy and astrology. Astrology was called the wisdom of prognostication. Prognostication basically means predicting the future. Astronomy was the wisdom of star seeing and related to knowing the time of the year and being able to navigate according to the stars. It was probably best explained in the movie Shrek. Donkey says, "Hey Shrek, can you tell my future from these stars?" And Shrek says, "Well, the stars don't tell the future, Donkey. They tell stories." And then he goes on to tell the story of Bloodknock the Flatulent. So I'm not going to tell you the story about Bloodknock the Flatulent or the hunters that are running away from his stench, but I am going to tell you a different story, one that involves Jacob and his children. If we read the book of Genesis, chapter 29 and 30, they outline the birth of the 12 children of Jacob. The first four are Reuben, Simon, Levi, and Judah, born to Leah. Dan and Naphtali, were next born to Bilhah, followed by Gad and Asher, born to Zilpah. Issachar and Zebulun, again, were born to Leah, and finally Joseph and Benjamin, born to Rachel. It should be noted that Jacob did have one daughter, Dinah, and she was born from Leah right after Issachar and Zebulun. Her story is a tragic one. She was raped, or the King James Bible says defiled, by Shechem. Simon and Levi retaliated in the city, and they killed all the men involved. Now, Dinah was not counted with the sons of Jacob. Each son was to become a patriarch of each tribe, and the book of Genesis, chapter 49, we're told what each tribe's symbol is to be. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, my beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power, unstable as water. There's a clue right there. Thou shalt not excel, because thou wentst up to my father's bed and defiled it, and he went up to my couch. And then Simon and Levi, our brethren, instruments of cruelty are their habitations. O my soul, come not thou into their secret unto their assembly, mine honor be not thou united. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they digged down a wall. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Israel. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise, and thy hand shall be the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Judah is a lion's whelp from the prey, my son. Thou art gone up, he stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? Zebulun shall dwell in the haven of the sea, and he shall be for a haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon. Issachar is a strong ass, or donkey, couching down between two burdens. Dan shall judge his people, as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path, that biteth the horse's heels, so that its rider shall fall backward. Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. Out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. Naphtali is a hind, or a deer, let loose, he giveth goodly words. Joseph is a fruitful bough, even a fruitful bough by a well, whose branches run over the wall. The archers have sorely grieved him, and shot at him, and hated him, but his bow abideth in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of mighty God of Jacob. From hence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. And Benjamin shall raven as a wolf in the morning, and shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. This is all right out of the book of Genesis, chapter 49. God is assigning an icon, or an animal, or a symbol to each one of the tribes of Israel. So the tribe of Levi was taken out of the counting of the tribes of Israel. The book of Numbers, chapter 2, the tribes of Israel are assigned their positions in relation to the tabernacle. The tribe of Levi was given the explicit direction to be the keepers of the tabernacle, and no other tribe would take on his responsibility. As a matter of fact, if anyone were to approach the tabernacle without authorization, they were put to death. Anybody know what the tabernacle is in modern Masonry? Nobody?
The altar?
It's part of it.
It's the Holy of Holies, isn't it?
The Holy of Holies is the center of the tabernacle where
So the
they kept
middle chamber.
the middle chamber is a good representation. Realistically speaking, we as Freemasons, when we set up our lodge, we are emulating the tabernacle. The way it's set up, the way everything is oriented in the lodge, we're basically doing the work of the tribe of Levi. The tribe of Joseph was split into two tribes, the tribe of Manasseh and Ephraim, and this brings the counting back to 12. The tribes were assigned their positions around the tabernacle. On the east side, toward the rising of the sun, they shall the standard of the camp of Judah pitch through their armies. On the south side shall be the camp of Reuben, according to their armies, and the captain of the children of Reuben shall be Elizur and the son of Shadur. They were naming the people that were in charge. The tabernacle of the congregation shall set forward with the camp of the Levites in the midst of the camp. As they encamp, so shall they set forward, every man in his place by their standards. On the west side shall be the standard of the camp of Ephraim, and the standard of the camp of Dan shall be on the north. Dan, Ephraim, Reuben, and Judah were the cardinal. I believe so. The cardinal points. The next groups with them were the fixed, and I'm sorry, Dan, Judah, Ephraim, and Reuben were the fixed. Those were the ones that were supposed to be exactly where they were on those sides. The other two tribes, like Asher and Naphtali, were with Dan as cardinal and mutable. So we'll continue with the story. The book of Genesis, chapter 47, verse 28, and chapter 50, verse 26, includes the death of Jacob, leaving the 12 tribes to lead the people. Counting the tribes, we see Manasseh and Ephraim, two grandchildren of Jacob, are given the status of tribes. Why weren't the other grandchildren tribes? Why isn't just their father Joseph a tribe? Why isn't Jacob's daughter Dinah a tribe? Any idea? All right, tumbleweeds again. The tribes were not merely the sons of Jacob, but they represented a spiritual reality. It was predestined that there had to be 12. The Hebrew word for tribe is shevet, which also means a staff or a rod. The ruler used to have a staff, rod, or scepter as a symbol of power and authority. Just as a ruler has power over the people, the tribes had a power structure, and the months and seasons of the year have authority over us as well. 12 months, 12 tribes, 12 zodiac constellations. They all revolve around each other in a spiritual realm and influence us from above. The Kabbalistic book of creation attributed to Abraham reveals the underpinnings of the universe and ties together the set of 12. This mosaic we're looking at is actually on the floor of the 6th century synagogue at Beth Alpha. This mosaic is found on the found in Old Jerusalem in the Jewish quarter, right there on the wall. Here's an image of the floor of the Hamat Tiberias synagogue. Looks like something got broke and they're trying to fix it, but they're putting it back to the way it was. So the ancient Hebrews understood the use of this chart and its purpose within their daily lives. That purpose was to let them know what time of year it was and how to adjust their calendar. Anybody know how they did this?
Through the stars?
They definitely did it with the stars. How could you adjust your calendar with the stars?
Well, knowing where the sun rises on the equinoxes would be one way.
And yeah, if you know that where the sun rises on the equinox, you would know what time of year it was, correct?
Yep.
And then how would you know exactly what month and day it is? This is how it gets a little complicated. You have a lunar cycle, and the lunar cycle is 29 and a half days. It continues like this indefinitely. Earth revolves around the sun for 365 days and contains no months. The Hebrew calendar combines the two systems, lunar and solar, by counting 12 months and calling it a year, lasting approximately 354 days. Therefore, the Hebrew calendar is considered lunisolar. At the end of every few years, an extra month is added in order to line it back up again with the equinoxes. Secular society uses the Gregorian calendar, which is an adaptation of the Julian calendar put forth by Julius Caesar back in ye olden days when he liked to screw around with time. And I mean, that's not a joke. If you look up what Caesar did with the calendar, he was messing with people. But he also kind of established something that was needed. The changes were undergoing over the years from Egypt to Rome and beyond. At this point, the months, January, February, March, etc., they have no relationship to anything astronomical. If you look at the calendar here, you'll see that the month of from March 21st to April 19th is the month of Nisan. That's the first month of the Hebrew calendar. The Hebrew calendar starts at the equinox. Nisan goes from roughly March 21st, or when the equinox begins, to April 19th. The Hebrew day starts at sundown. So our current day goes from midnight to midnight. The Hebrew day went from about 6 p.m. ish, but it was different every day when the sun went down. So they counted from the sundown across through the day back to the next sundown. Understanding the months in the season requires understanding how the Earth travels around the sun. It also requires the understanding of when the sun is at a particular point as viewed from the Earth. So, real quick, Pierre, let me pick on you real fast. When's your birthday?
November.
November past?
16 November.
Okay, 16th. So you're a Scorpio, right?
That is correct.
All right. So if you look at this map here, if you look where October 21st to November 21st, well, that looks like Taurus, doesn't it?
It does.
It does.
How come?
Because you have to look at it from the perspective of the Earth. And this is the part that makes things confusing. If your birthday is before October 21st, if you're on the planet right below the top October 21st, the direction goes through the sun to the constellation in the sky. So this is the way the astrological people would say the sun is in Libra. So when you're born on October 21st or in that area, you're a Libra because the sun is in Libra. So this makes me wonder why the old people used to think that the Earth was the middle of the universe. I actually do wonder this. You know, there's people running around right now, this whole flat Earth theory. I'm just wondering if maybe back then it was a theory and nobody really cared about it, but they were so passionate about it they started saying everybody thought it was. I think the Hebrews knew how it worked. Personally, they basically had a map for it. We observe the path of the sun, which is the green line here, through the sky throughout the year. The path of the sun is where we get the zodiac constellations from. The sun never strays from the path of these 12 constellations as observed from the earth. That green line shows exactly how we see them. As the sun rises from Aries in the spring and continues until it reaches Cancer in the summer, then starts its declination towards Libra in autumn, at the midway point or the balance point denoted by the scales of Libra, the balance. Its declination to Capricorn in winter, and then it starts raising again back into Aries in spring. Here's another depiction of the same process as seen from the Earth, which is the central point in the middle. Now, if you understand what this picture is about, it's showing the arc of the sun, and it's showing how it moves, or how it is seen from the Earth. But I wonder if people saw this and thought that it was drawn thinking that the Earth was the center of the solar system or center of the universe. That's not the case. The whole idea was to show how the sun goes through the sky throughout the course of the year. The precession of the sun can be seen on a daily basis, from rising of the sun in the east to open the day, the sun at its meridian height in the south, and then to the closing of the day in the west. The sun makes a great arch motion across the sky. And if we follow the constellations, it also makes an arch through the year, signifying the precession of the sun as seen from the earth, passing through Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, at its beauty and splendor in Cancer, Leo, Virgo, and then meeting its transition from summer to autumn in Libra. Basically, it gets a little tricky here, but I'm going to show you how this works. You got to do it. It all has to do with perspective. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. But then, wouldn't we be seeing it from the north? We would not, because the sun is in the south. So the junior warden, or Sparky here, actually faces north, which means he wouldn't be looking at the sun. The sun actually passes behind the station of the junior warden in the south. We know this because the junior warden's job is to observe the time. And how do you do that? By watching the sun? Well, he didn't have an iPhone or a nifty new iWatch. What was he looking at? Nobody?
He was looking at the east.
Well,
Oh,
if he's
no.
in the south, he's facing north. And what
Right.
was he looking at to help him tell the time? He's looking at a
That's a
sundial.
good question.
Shadows.
Shadows, right? It may have been. Chances are it was a sundial, but it may have just been a pole, staff, or rod. But he knew when the shadow pointed west, it was morning. When it pointed north, it was midday. And when it pointed east, the day was coming to a close. So if we show the arch
I
of the
think it's the
sun,
other way around.
no, you have
The
to.
sun rises from the east.
The sun rises from the east, which means the shadow would be pointing which direction?
West.
West.
Right. So, oh, did I have that backwards? I apologize.
Yeah.
Yes, if the shadow's pointing west, the sun is rising. If the shadow's pointing east, the day is coming to a close. Yes. So, if we show the arch of the sun rising, starting at the east equinox, and then we show the declination of the sun in the west equinox, and we add the sideways motion of the sun, making the summer solstice denoted by the way a crab moves, which is sideways. We can see the representation of these three motions of the sun and how they're all tied together.
Yeah.
And if we put a circle around it, what do we get? This is our symbol of the Royal Arch, the Triple Tau.
Royal Arch.
Yep. This denotes the precession of the sun throughout the spring, into the summer, and the starting of autumn.
Wow.
So I'd also like you to take a good look at the shape of this sign. Is it familiar?
Yes.
What's it look like?
Eat don't.
Yeah, getting a little ahead of me, but yes, you're absolutely correct. And that's not the part that says Cancer, and not the little, well, for lack of a better term, the little 69, just the part where the crab is at. Remember this? We talked about this in our last presentation. If you take a point within a circle and you quarter it, you can then add some more lines to it to get 12 independent sections. We actually call this the wheel within a wheel, which is denoted in the book of Ezekiel. And it's starting to look like another circle, but I'm not really focused on the whole zodiac circle at this point. We're focused on one particular shape. And like you already said, that is the keystone.
The keystone. Yeah.
What is the primary focus of the keystone?
It's to hold the arch together.
And without that keystone, that arch has absolutely no strength or support. That's why strength is the strength or fortitude, the ability to go on for a long time, fortitude, endurance, is the symbol of the junior warden. They received every man a penny as part of the Royal Arch degree. So the keystone is required to complete the temple, but it also adds strength to the supporting structure. Bear in mind, it isn't going to do anything by itself. You have to do the work first. The supporting structure is the Blue Lodge. The keystone is what holds it all together. And if we look at the book of Psalms, we get a neat little phrase: the stone which the builders refused is become the headstone of the corner. This is a reading from Scripture which occurs in this degree. The Right Worshipful Master reads from Psalms. This is also denoted in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. This psalm seems to have been originally spoken by David, who was at first rejected by the Jewish rulers, but afterwards chosen by the Lord to be the great ruler of his people in Israel. We're reminded of this psalm by Jesus in Matthew. Too often we allow our faith keystone to be thrown into the rubbish by authority figures, ruffians, and sometimes even ourselves. Once we've made a mess of things, we have to go sift through that mess just to find it again. Jesus said, did you ever read the scriptures? The stone which the builders rejected is the same as become the headstone of the corner. That's in Matthew. Here it is in Mark. And have you not read this scripture? The stone which the builders rejected has become the head of the corner. Again, in Luke, what is this when that is written? The stone which the builders rejected, the same has become the head of the corner. Now, the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are retellings of the same sermon, but given at a different perspective. Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John wrote down what I think the Sermon on the Mount. Why do you think this particular phrase was so important to Jesus? Anybody? It's okay to speculate. Throw out speculation, and then we work on what was said and continue on from there. Well, it originated from King David, the stone that the builder refused. If you continue down the bloodline from King David, that's where you end up with Jesus. One of the most important things that people forget about Jesus is that he was from the royal bloodline of David, which is probably why King Herod wanted him killed. He didn't need another Jewish king showing up. He needed that to have been gone. So this is very important to Jesus. This strength, keystone, has been depicted in very, very many ways throughout the years. It can be seen within our jewels and symbolism within our books, and even within our own book of constitutions. You guys remember this image? We're going to come back to it later. And that pretty much summarizes the arch from that symbolic and perspective, and why we have most of the things in it that we do. So we're done now. If there's any questions or comments, let's go ahead and continue from there.
Hey, Nick, I have a. I don't know if you're going to touch on this later, but there's the 4 books of the gospel are also those apostles also have an association with the zodiac.
Association with what?
The zodiac.
Yes.
Matthew is, I believe, Aquarius, where Mark was Leo. John's the Eagle or
Scorpio.
Scorpio, and then Luke would be Taurus.
Absolutely. We touched on that in the last presentation. Do you have any idea what those are also known as?
As far as well,
Yeah, I know you gave a whole perspective on what what they're known as. They have multiple concepts. In Masonry, we refer to them as the four cardinal points of the zodiac. We also
right.
we also refer to them as the four cardinal virtues, as the symbology there as well. And then here's my favorite one: the four winds of heaven. But yeah, they're the primary structure of the Blue Lodge. Um, if we're talking about the cardinal, which is the cardinal meaning first or the first steps into this form of astronomy, that's where it all starts. Blue Lodge, then Royal Arch, then Cryptic. And I have I'm not trying to say finally uh, the orders of the temple. The orders of the temple are more focused on New Testament. The rest of the Masonry, Blue Lodge, Royal Arch, and Cryptic Masonry are based on Old Testament.
Hmm.
Any other comments, questions? All right. Well, that simplifies that. Um, the presentation, I guess, is over at this point. We'll just continue to move on. It only took about a half an hour. Thank everybody for coming. I appreciate that, and hopefully we'll see you in the next couple weeks when we do the crypt.
Thanks, Nick. We're doing this next weekend, correct? Same time?
Not next weekend. 2 weekends from now.
All right.
July 25th.
Great. Now,
All right. Thank you, Nick.
Yep. All right, guys. Take it easy. Have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you in a couple weeks.
Hey,
sounds
thank
good.
you,
Thanks,
brother.
Nick.
Be good.